Hi Vinyl community, John here again. It's been a while since I made a video. Been quite busy. Had a birthday mid-August and have travelled a little bit abroad. And well, happy to say that I've reached that critical 100 subscribers mark. Very happy about that. Thanks to all my subscribers. I remember when I started this, I didn't really get this thing about subscribers, but soon caught on, and of course I guess the benefit is that more people see your videos, which is cool. And so in VC tradition, I would like to do a 100 subscribers contest. So here's a little story. A long time ago, this is the theme, okay, we'll set the theme now. When I lived in California, in Half Moon Bay, I used to love getting up early on Saturday mornings and going to yard sales, garage sales, finding what bargains I could. Sometimes I'd come home empty-handed, sometimes I'd come home with some great stuff. On one particular Saturday, or before Saturday, I'd read on the day before on Craigslist, there was a yard sale close by, about a mile up the road, and said that the focus was on vinyl records. So what was on the driveway of this yard sale was perhaps, should we say, 30 or 40 boxes, not crates, but nice sort of white cardboard boxes with lids, all full of records. And I thought, well, yeah, I'm going to pick up some great stuff here, regardless of how many people are here before me. So I was there, flipping through like you do, and I realised, aha, all these records, they're jazz records. I don't collect jazz records because I don't know much about jazz yet. One day I guess I will do, but right there and then I thought, oh, that's a disappointment, you know. The only record that I could find was a particular one. Well, I found two actually. They were in a box of anomalies, if you like, you know, records that weren't jazz. There was some classical, there was some rock and pop, and one record was the second Vanilla Fudge album. But the second record was this album. Needs no introduction. This is Who, live at Leeds. Possibly the best, if not one of the best live albums of all time, excuse me. And it's not just, it's an early pressing from 1970s, I think it's a US pressing. It's gatefold, and it's got all the bits of paper that should be in here. Now that's a whole big bunch of stuff. I think there's 12, 13 of these. It's things like, you know, a copy of the contract that they had to play Woodstock. I won't go through all of these, but I mean these are just sort of copies of stuff that they gave out at the same time as releasing this record. All in lovely condition, all crisp, clean bits of paper. And considering this record is as old as I am, you know, it's pretty cool to have. Now, so all these records on the yard sale, on this person's drive, regardless of what they were priced at $1 each. And it's plain for me to see at the time that this was someone's record collection. You know, they weren't random records. They were, you know, obviously very good, well collected, well preserved jazz records. And I couldn't work out, well, who's selling their record collection? Well, why so cheaply? You know, and these were beautiful records. So I took my two records to the lady selling, and there was a couple of ladies there. I suppose hard to say how old they were, but I'm guessing they were sort of mid to late 60s, I guess, these ladies. And I said, what's going on? Why are you selling these records for $1 each? You know, I didn't want to question too much because, you know, I didn't want to be charged more than the $1 that they were charging for each record. And they said, well, It's their father's record collection, and he is an elderly man in his 90s in a sort of a old person's home, which they're having to sort of, finance him being in a home like this. And he's in his 90s and he is hard of hearing and has no further use of these records. So they were selling his record collection to raise funds to keep him in this place, his elderly care home. And when they said that, I thought to myself, there's got to be some irony there, and I sort of vocalised my thoughts. I said, so the poor guy's so old, he's in a care home, he's lost his hearing, and to make things worse, you're selling his records for $1 each. And I didn't mean to sound quite as crass as that, but one of the ladies sort of, stifled a sob, I suppose, and explained, well, they need the money, they need to sort of be able to continue paying for his care in this place. Yeah, I didn't describe to them, how they perhaps could have done a better job and thought a little bit further along and, possibly sold these records for a lot more. Hey, they could have auctioned these ones off. I mean, this man, he'd obviously collected these records for his life. The ladies were talking about, how he'd had these since they were little girls. And in their minds, it's like, well, they're obsolete now, aren't they? Because nobody collects records. No one even has CDs these days, it's all MP3s. And they weren't about to be playing with them because, well, they were their father's things. They didn't really sort of have that same kind of interest that he obviously did. But they were selling them off $1 each. I'm quite sure, I mean, if this is anything to go by, I'm quite sure I could probably get 60 quid for this if I had to, if I wanted to sell it. And that's just one record, he had some real sort of classic gems there from the jazz world. And, it was just, I think it was all a bit misguided, what they were doing. I also think it was so tragic. And the experience really did sort of hit home to me, and I spoke about it when I got home to my wife, my family-in-laws, and my in-laws there, and it stayed with me for a while. And I think the thing that bothered me so much was that this man had sort of put so much heart into his record collection. He'd collected them for so long. What really hit home to me was this idea that okay, so your record collection, you can't take it with you. They will come when you can't be around here anymore. Maybe like this old gentleman, you just can't take care of yourself, and you don't have any immediate need for records right there and then. Or maybe you're just you're passing out of this world into the next. What are you going to do with your records? What would you wish to do with your records? What do you wish should happen to your record collection when you pass on? It's a difficult one, isn't it? You don't really have any control over it. So that's the theme of my competition. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do that would like to enter the contest is this. You have to be a subscriber. I'd like you to make a video and talk about 2 records. I'd like you to talk about a record that you have inherited from somebody. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone that's died. It could be something that maybe your parents gave you, or somebody left behind for you, or somebody, left town and let you have it, whatever. Or preferably it could be someone that has passed away and left it behind for you. So I'd like you to show one record that you've inherited, and I'd also like you to show one record which you would like to leave for somebody else to inherit when you go. It could be you leave it to your children or your friends, your partner. It could be, you know, anything you choose. And then I'd like you to sort of talk about these two records, why or how you inherited this particular record, and why you're going to leave this one to somebody else. And then the third thing I'd like you to do is describe what you would like to happen to your record collection when you go, when you die. You can have a bit of fun with this, be creative. Doesn't necessarily have to be factual, or you could just basically describe what you would like to happen to it. Hey, maybe you can leave it to a cat's home or something like that. So that's my contest. What I'm going to do now is show you the record, a record which I've inherited. I'm going to show you a record which I would like to leave when I go, and then I will tell you what I would like to happen to my record collection when I go. Okay, so a record that I have inherited was from a friend of mine that I went to school with, and college. We were very good friends for the longest time. We studied art at school, and we went to sort of foundation college together. And he was, I guess, he was an individual out of place. He'd sort of moved to where I was living as a kid, and I don't know, I guess he felt quite isolated, perhaps. Great guy, someone I had a lot of respect for, and when he came, he eventually became a goth, which was kind of funny because he had this sort of platinum white hair, and I just remember when he tried to dye it black, came to school and it was kind of purple. But what led him into this gothness that he sort of eventually got into was that he was a fan of Depeche Mode, and at the time I would have been into Duran Duran, you know, sort of a teeny pop band at its time, I suppose, and his sort of big thing was Depeche Mode. And I'm playing in the background now this track, so I would use this as this is the thing that I inherited from him. In fact, I inherited a lot of his records. Sadly, when just after my mid-20s, he passed away. You know, he died, which was sad. Yeah, it was sad. I'd already left England by then, but I got a call from his family, and they said that he'd sort of passed away. And it was tragic, because he was one of the friends that I looked forward to going to meet and have a pint with whenever I went back to the UK from Sweden. Cut long story short, I hooked up with his sister a few years back through social media or something like that, and agreed to go and visit her, and it was good to see her. And just before it was time to go, she said, "Oh, hang on, there's something you might be interested in taking with you." And she went into a cupboard, and she came up with a big stack of records, were my friend's records, and I was gobsmacked. You know, just flipping through those records and recognising in my mind the songs that were on the albums in the 12 inches was so much, you know, my memories of my friend when he would sit in his bedroom and play the music, and it was a total honour to, if you like, inherit his record collection. It wasn't his entire collection, but it was a big chunk of it, which I was very, very happy to have. And I guess it was perhaps 30 or 40 records, albums in 12 inches, that I sort of have absorbed into my record collection. And even now when I pull them out and play them, they remind me of him and our sort of adolescence and sort of teenage years growing up together. So I will nominate this as a record that I've inherited. Okay, so which record would I leave for somebody else to inherit? I have to say this one. This is Genesis. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. It doesn't really need any major introduction. I think a lot of people will be familiar with this. It's a double concept album, and I recently bought this when my son was born, my first son, 2008, and when he was about 6 months we started feeding him solids, and we noticed after a while that he wasn't feeling good on that. You know, it kind of changed his personality, and he became sort of quite weepy, and he wasn't gaining any weight. You know, so there was a lot of trips to the doctors, the hospitals, try and find out what was happening. And I always remember the night when President Obama was being inaugurated. My wife was away at a party in Stockholm celebrating that, and I sat at home with my little boy sort of on my lap, and he was just limp. Plainly something wasn't right. You know, he was just, you know, lifeless almost. So we called the emergency ward, and we took him into the emergency ward at the hospital in Stockholm. They put him in sort of intensive care for a while. He was there for 3 nights with an IV drip in his arm. And anyone, you know, with small children, it's not very pleasant to see your children, or any child in that case, in that sort of state. And as a parent, I was, you know, very worried, going out of my mind of worry. And eventually they figured out what it was, that it was something to do with his diet, something that he was eating that was making him feel bad. And after a while it turned out that it was cow's milk protein. He couldn't tolerate that, and it was sort of creating some sort of anemic reaction in him. And when we figured that out, changed his diet, he went perfect, back to a happy little boy again. And when we came home, I played this song, and regardless of what the song is about, it's the music is kind of, you know, goofy, funky. I'll never forget sort of picking him up and dancing around the room to the song, and being so happy that he was, you know, jolly and laughy and back to normal again. So I would leave this record to him when I pass. That was tough, trying to do that last bit with a lump in my throat. Okay, so that brings me to the third part of my contest, and that is to say what you would wish to happen to your record collection when you're no longer around. So when you pass away into the next life or wherever, what would you wish for your record collection what would you wish to happen to it? When I came home from that garage sale, when I bought my Who record, I remember discussing with my wife this. Didn't take me very seriously. But I remember feeling very strongly at that point, what I wish for my records, what I wish for my record collection, is that they stay complete together and are housed and are taken care of. They're not left aside in some garage or a shed to deteriorate, but they are maintained and enjoyed. It's a tough one, because if I leave it to one child, maybe the other children are going to feel left out. If I leave it to all of my children, then it's going to get split up, isn't it? So I think what I would like to do is write in my will, the day I have a will, that my records are to be collected and maintained by my children and my children's children and their children after. and that they are to be enjoyed and played collectively. However that's done, I don't know. Maybe put them in a safe house or something like that. I'd like to think that there could be a room in a building somewhere called the John Bellamy Room where my grandchildren and my grandchildren's children and so on visit and play the records and enjoy them. That's what I would wish. That's my ultimate. Don't know if it's really going to happen like that, but that's what I always wish for. Okay, so I'd like to invite you all to enter my contest. You have to be a subscriber. You have to answer those 3 questions. I'll put a text down here describing what those questions are again, just to clarify them. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll gather the names of all the people that send in an entry to my contest. I'll put them into a hat and draw them out, and the last one to leave the hat will be the winner of the prize. The prize, I think I've considered this. Okay, the prize will be this. The winner gets to choose any album or record or CD up to a value of £25 online on something like Amazon, and I will buy it and send it to them. So anything you choose up to a value of £25. I'd also include a book, the book Vinyl Junkies, which I've read, which is really, really good, and I don't know if many people in the VC have read it, but I recommend it, and I will send a copy of that to the winner, and I'll also include a CD of some of my favourite tracks. Bye.